guys, I'm going to be reacting to another longish video. This is more story, which I haven't reacted to more in a little bit, so it's going to be good. I don't know what this is going to be, because it's 11 minutes long, and it's only the mall horror story. It's only one story, so I don't know what's going to, like, why it's so long, but I guess we'll see. So, yeah. Let's go, guys.
Just out of college, and despite having a degree,
it was almost impossible for me to get a job. Day after day, week after week, I sent out my resume to every game developer and computer company in the country, and a few in Europe and Asia. 6 months into this, my money was running very low. This was when I was forced to face the facts. I needed a job immediately, and it didn't matter where and for how much.
Yeah.
Just in time, I found a job listing for a video game store at the mall. You know the one I mean. And the terrible stories you hear about them are almost always true. Because of my background in games, I was given an interview immediately and hired soon after. My first shift was the following morning.
Oh, okay.
Other than a few hiccups along the way, it kept my head above water until I got on with Dell 2 years later. The meat of the facts began just before my second year was about to start. Because of the high turnover, I was made an assistant manager by month 9. None of my shifts were evenings, so I was tasked with keeping the younger employees in line. A job I never really took seriously since I was only a few years older than they were. I didn't care how they acted, as long as they did their job. Around this time, a girl was hired that could have been my undoing. The second I saw her, I knew she would be a problem. However, it wasn't just her that was the source of trouble. Her super jealous boyfriend became a thorn in the side of every guy that worked with her, and sometimes just spoke to her. A shift of hers didn't go by without him showing up to check on her. Some nights, he would do no more than sit on a bench outside the store and watch her work.
So that's so stupid.
But anytime she would get too close to a guy for his liking, he'd approach them and physically intimidate the guy she was talking to.
That's so stupid.
She never said a thing when this happened. I actually think she kind of liked it, but it would be what would push her away from him.
I would have dumped his ass a long time
She worked
ago.
at the store for a couple of weeks before someone showed her the hallways that ran along the back of every place. She took advantage of the fact he wasn't aware of them, and this turned out to be a big mistake. If any person reading this doesn't know what I'm talking about, pay attention. You're about to learn something. I'm not sure how common this is, but some indoor malls, those built in the old way where each store inhabited an area that leased from the mall owner, there are a network of paths or halls that run behind each business. They're used mainly by the employees. The system allows them to enter and leave their jobs without being seen by the customers. Although I'm pretty sure their intended purpose was to give janitorial staff an uncluttered pathway to maintain the spaces. That being said, in all my time at that job, I only saw a member of the cleaning staff a handful of times. Most of those times, they were sneaking a cigarette rather than working. Luckily, we could still smoke inside the building back then. No one said anything to the office if they caught you, probably because they were doing the same thing on their breaks. If we are all on the same page now, I'll get to the real story. Like I said, his jealousy, no matter how it turned her on, was at the same time pushing her away.
I'll be so annoyed and pissed
On
off.
her breaks,
Like, hey,
she'd
fuck
often
off.
sneak out the back and disappear for a while.
Like, what?
Where she went, I had no idea or really cared. The boyfriend took forever to catch on, but when he did, he was super angry. She continued this routine for a few months, and just one day, she never came back to the store.
And they have no curtain. Oh, she never
I
came
didn't
back.
attach any
They have no
importance to
curtains.
this. It was during the holidays, and work was a nightmare. It wasn't uncommon for employees to go on break after an especially hectic rush and not return. The turnover was simply that bad. Things got a bit more interesting about 4 or 5 days later. The police showed up and had some questions about her disappearance. I was like, disappearance? What's going on here? They then informed me that she had been reported missing the day after she bailed on work by her parents. She had never made it home, and they thought we may know something. The crazy thing was that when they visited her boyfriend's place to see if she was there, in addition to him not being there, after some digging, they learned that nobody had seen either of them for about a week. I was quick to make it clear that I didn't know anything. I had just assumed she got sick of the place and bailed.
Or
I
the
guess they were happy
boyfriend.
with that. Never heard from them again. Time passed, and the situation around her almost faded completely from my mind, until something really big in February happened and brought it back into crystal clarity. Some workmen were renovating one of the store's spaces for an incoming client, and once they had completed emptying the space of what the previous renters had left behind, they began the undertaking of finding the source of a terrible smell. Initially, it had been inferred that the smell was emanating from some old food products left behind in the space.
Yeah, okay.
But even after the clearing, the stink remained. The next theory was that an animal like a rat had died in the wall.
It's not a rat. It's a
It had
human.
happened before. So, before they went to the extreme of busting holes in the walls to find the source of the smell, they went next door to the adjoining space that was also empty and had been for some time. They spent close to an hour sifting through tons of old displays and leftover building materials. It turned out that the mall had been using this space for years as storage, and the place was a mess. The two guys tasked with doing this were about to say forget it, when one of them stumbled upon the source of the stink, and it definitely wasn't a rat. Someone had taken a large piece of plywood and put it over a tiny little closet, thus making it invisible. The guy had caught on that the smell grew worse as he got closer to this board, so he pushed aside the heavy display rack holding the board against the wall, and as soon as he pulled back the board, he found what was causing it. The semi-mummified body of what looked like a female was lying on the floor facing the wall. It appeared the arid and dry Arizona heat had preserved the corpse and suppressed decomposition. This had to have been why it wasn't stinking up the entire mall and managed to remain hidden for so long. Naturally, the mall was alive with talk of who the body could possibly belong to.
Clearly,
Numbers of people had just stopped coming to work one day or skipped out during their lunch. We'd gone through at least 15 people in the last year ourselves. When the answer came, no one could have guessed who it was. Early one morning, I was awakened by my manager with the news that Becky Morrison was the person they found in the empty store. My only answer was, who? He reminded me that she was the girl with the crazy, jealous boyfriend that had disappeared just before Christmas.
Well, yeah, no shit.
I hung up and went back to sleep. When I returned from my shift that night, it was the only thing anyone could talk about. The next question asked was, who did it?
Well, clearly we know
The
that.
overall favorite was the crazy boyfriend.
No shit. That's so
Everyone knew
obvious.
by now that he had disappeared just after her, and considering his body wasn't found alongside hers, it was a fair assumption. He was most definitely nuts. It made sense.
Clearly.
The story took a whole new angle just a couple of weeks after she was identified. An article was published in the paper discussing a possible new motive behind this. The police had recently received information that Becky had been messing around with a fellow mall employee during her breaks. They were meeting in the unoccupied store her body had been discovered in and fooling around. After following some leads, they were able to identify the employee. He was a 22-year-old guy working in the Hallmark store, but no name was given. He told the officers that he and Becky were supposed to hook up the day she disappeared, but he got holed up by the time he'd reached the empty space and she was gone. He figured she couldn't wait and returned to work. It was only a few days later, when the cops showed up at the mall to ask questions, that he heard she was missing. His mind went straight to the worst, and he was afraid he'd be blamed for it, so he said nothing. Then, when the news reached him that the boyfriend was also missing, it was too late. He figured if the boyfriend was hiding out, waiting for his chance to get him, it was best for him to say nothing, just on the off chance he didn't know for sure who the guy was. It all boiled down to him being afraid, and with what I knew, I could understand. What nobody knew, and still probably doesn't, is that her and I had a thing for a short while too. It wasn't long, but once is all it takes. I was the person who told her about the back hallways, after all. We slipped out there a few times to mess around. Fortunately, we never got busted. When she moved on to the next guy, I wasn't hurt. I knew she had a boyfriend anyway. Now you know why I had to act as if though I didn't care about her. We figured it was the safest thing for the both of us. Turns out we were right. I was overjoyed no one knew about us. If the dude was crazy enough to strangle her for cheating, which seemed to be the reason, he would no doubt come after the dude she was with. I felt sorry for the Hallmark guy. It wouldn't take much mental math to figure out who he was, if he didn't already know, and since they still haven't found him to this day, the fear of her boyfriend popping up out of nowhere and putting some holes in him must have been real strong. I know I was looking over my shoulder for several years after. The police have this theory that he may have ended his life not long after. There hadn't been any activity on his bank account or card for years, and I still wasn't taking any chances.
I would think he's dead or
9 years later,
canceled the card or
a week
something.
doesn't go by that I don't think about her. An outsider may have seen her as an easy girl, but I still don't think of her that way. It struck me that she was just looking for a guy that would treat her well and commit to her for the long term without being psychotic about it. She was genuinely a good person, and certainly didn't deserve the end she had, but then again, I can't think of very many that do.
Well, that was an interesting long story, so stick on my cat meowing. Okay, I don't know what to say to this exactly, but so basically, he worked at a mall because he needed money, and then he basically had a new employee, or a new person come in, and then she had a jealous boyfriend, and then they would hook up, the girl and the guy would hook up in one secret room, and then she went to another guy, and then I guess the boyfriend found them in that room, I guess, and then probably killed the guy. Wait, no, because the guy was still alive. Maybe he got away. Or maybe he just found out or something somehow. I don't know how he found out. Maybe he just found them. Or maybe he found them together, and then the guy escaped, and then the girl stayed, and then she just got killed, I guess, because she was found right there, right? So I'm assuming that's where, that happened. And then the boyfriend obviously was missing too, so obviously the guy killed him, possibly killed himself after. And yeah, but I mean, yeah, no doubt that the guy would probably kill the guy that and the other guy that she fooled around with, so for sure. I would have dropped his ass a long time ago. I don't know why the hell you were still even dating him. It's scary because then even if you do, dump them, they could still easily come back and kill you for dumping them. You know what I mean? So it's you kind of have to get a restraining order, you kind of have to alert the police, because you never know what'll happen, you never know if they'll come after you, which they probably will if they're as crazy as that. And they're watching you work to make sure that you're not cheating. That's so stupid. Okay, my cat keeps meowing, so I'm just gonna pick her up, because then she usually stops meowing once I pick her up, so. She usually just starts purring when I do that, so yeah. But yeah, so I don't know, it's just... I felt like that story could have been shortened, but I mean, whatever. But yeah, so just interesting. Be careful who you meet, be careful who you date. If you date someone that's awful, dump them. I don't care, girl or guy, dump them. Because those people are annoying and trashy. Maybe he had mental illness, I don't know. Maybe he just... I don't know, I don't want to assume anything, but I don't want to I'm just trying to guess, Yeah, so I don't know, it's just, you never know with anything, so just be safe, be careful, and stay safe. That's all I really can say, to be honest. So thank you guys for watching. Be sure to subscribe if you are new, be sure to like this video, and be sure to turn on post notifications if you have not done so yet, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.